Hello.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry.
Let's all talk at once.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Everyone.
this
I'm
is
sure everyone will be able
Commentaries
to
Magic.
understand us.
I am Emperor Bugle, and with me is...
Grand pause.
Really? Okay, fine. The ever angry Cat.
Big cheese.
Go on.
Come on.
Sure,
on.
and a fifth person.
There we go. And a fifth person.
Okay.
Fifth person.
I'll just number
So we
myself for all of these.
And how about them regionals?
They
I don't know. How
are
about them?
they are a thing. So, has everyone been having a good experience with them so far? I hope.
Well, mine are completely done, so
Oh,
it's not just so far for me.
Did you have a good experience with them?
Yes, I had while I didn't make top 2, I had the goals of making top 4 and doing it with a rogue deck that no one had ever seen before in an incredibly competitive environment, as I'm sure Critical Thought in chat will tell you.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Well, congratulations on making top 4. In fact, I believe that all of us here were able to make top 4 with our decks. So hopefully we can, over the course of this stream, provide some insight into what we've seen at regionals so far, what we might expect to see in the future, talk a little bit about the decks, about the metas, and then get some questions or feedback from the chat as well.
Yeah, we actually already have some questions from the Reddit thread.
I did see that. Thank you to anyone who submitted those questions in advance. It is very helpful, and we appreciate it.
We don't read any of them. JK.
We read all of them.
Some of us read all
three
of them.
Some of us read all of them, others read none of them. Oh, good news before we start. For those of you who are not able to make that, or are not able to make this live, but will be watching it later, we have successfully managed to post videos on YouTube now. So all our videos from this point forward, provided that they are deemed worthy, will be able to be posted and viewed on our YouTube channel.
So you're telling the people who are going to watch this on YouTube that they can watch this on YouTube?
Yes,
Yes.
that is exactly what I'm saying.
If we deem this worthy for them to watch.
Right.
Oh, well, there
I'm
goes
sure
that.
the people who are watching this on YouTube as we speak are very pleased to hear this information.
I'm sure they will be.
Okay.
Yeah, but please no more video of my room. Oh, no. Every time I talk, it does that.
Okay.
So let's dive right in, huh? How's that sound?
How about that vinyl? I hear vinyl is good.
I hear
Really?
Vinyl's okay. I hear Vinyl's not the only one that's good. I hear she's
No.
good, though.
Yes. For those who are unaware, I have been documenting the top 8 mains. Everyone who has made a main, every main who has made it in the top 8 that has made it to the Reddit, I have put in one post, which I will link in chat here. You'll probably get the link before these words. And there's some definite data here. We're seeing a clear 5 mains that are above the rest, and I'd say 4 above the 5th, but that's definitely different than last year where we had 2.
It is. In
Fair.
fact, it's double. The mains have been doubled. As,
The names
as
doubled.
Best
Oh,
Princess
someone
would
else
say.
got there first. Sam.
I got it. And speaking of Best Princess, look who's right up there at the top of top 8.
Vinyl?
It's Best Princess. No,
Yeah,
it,
Princess
I don't know.
Vinyl.
I mean Rainbow Dash Flyer Extraordinaire.
I'm gonna go ahead and say I believe you are mistaken on that.
She is at the
He's
top of the
actually at the
list.
top of both of my lists.
And which lists are those?
The top 8 and the top 2.
They're not sorted by.
No, they're not.
They're sorted by order, yes. By color and then by set.
All right.
Yes. Obviously, you meant
Best?
Princess
Okay.
Luna, Dream Warrior, with
Yes.
15 top 8, which is one above Vinyl, who has 14. Next up is Princess Twilight Sparkle at 9. Applejack Ambassador of Honesty at 8. And then Octavia at 6. And then everyone else is below 5 at the moment.
But we still have another weekend, so we'll see what
We
happens.
do have another weekend, and I know of at least one person who, as of last week, was intending on running Changeling Pretender, so she might bump up to the 5 range.
We'll have to see. So let's have a look at these mains and talk briefly about what we've seen and what we might be able to, or what you might be able to expect from these in the future, huh?
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's just start at the top and we can work our way down from there. So Princess Luna, I think it's safe to say everyone saw this coming.
Aggro is
Probably.
back, baby.
In my prediction thread, I did say that I thought Luna would be the most popular top 8 main, and I thought Twilight would be the most popular top 2 main, and I'm technically correct.
Yeah, you go ahead and take that tie for now. We'll see what happens when the weekend's done.
Yeah, for now.
Maybe we'll just spike your numbers and all run Fluttershy Frente Animals.
Yeah, just to ruin the data.
No, I'm going to run the smooth main.
Oh, there you go. See, you were talking about Kevin.deck. Now we don't even need to do that.
Yes.
Okay. So,
But yeah,
Luna,
so Luna.
Yes. Aggro's back. You're absolutely right. It's back. It's in force. We're seeing incredibly fast plays from this deck. What did people see?
I've seen primarily 2 different forms of Luna. Night Glider Mono Blue Luna and RTO Blue White Luna. Some RTO builds also have Night Glider. Most that I've seen do not have Night Glider because it just does not have the reliability of getting that face off that's so important.
Yep, that's about what we've seen here as well. More dominant on the mono blue side on the West Coast, or at least in Central California. Haven't seen a lot of splash white, but we do know it's out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I personally favor the white build myself, but to each their own.
Yeah, I think the
ended
white
up-
build is a little more stable and the blue build is a little faster.
Yes.
I ended
The
up
blue
not
build is
playing
first
it
year, for
against it
sure.
at all, though.
I'm sorry?
I ended up not playing against blue at all yet, though.
Did you really manage to avoid blue through the entire regionals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't go up against either of us.
Wow. Well, there's next weekend, right?
Yeah.
So what has driven Luna here to the top? I mean, we joke about this. We say a lot of people saw it coming, but really, it's the ability, in my opinion, anyway, to trigger double problem face-offs for 3 less effective power than you would otherwise need.
I think it's because her name is Princess Luna.
That's
Yeah,
part
but
of it.
when was the last time we actually saw a Princess Luna main? And don't say the orange one. I mean one plays well.
Technically,
I've
we
made
have
top
seen
8
some
with Orange
good...
Luna.
Yeah, well,
To
no,
be-
with...
he
I
said
said
say
don't
it.
say orange Luna.
Well, so have I.
Purple
Okay,
Luna.
technically the last time we saw a Luna main was during One Pace development because
Yeah.
it was the best purple main at that point.
Yes.
Until we figured out Galagrita was better, and we just
and then we
kicked her
kicked
to
it
the
out
curb.
final because
Yes.
final.
Right. Yeah, the
But no.
hasty
Yes.
tricks that you can pull with Luna.
The fact that she is an incredibly powerful main helps. People prefer mains that are powerful to the mains that aren't. But I think there are a lot of people who flock to her because her name is Princess Luna. There's also the fact that aggro is the most popular archetype. So now that we have a really good main that just screams aggro, I think a lot of people are going to default to her, despite the fact that she is an ultra rare.
Yeah, she does. She does play to the aggro play style of being a very visceral main. You use her power very directly and often, so she feels like a something that you can include in a deck and build something around.
So for her versus, for example, Octavia, I think that her ability to not rely on cards in hand, it's just movement. You need like at least one, or all you need is one really to get her effect. Is what's really pushing her over some of the other aggro mains.
That's a good point. Yeah. And since we are seeing cards like Night Glider and Prince Rutherford that are having higher than 2 rec, you're kind of wanting to be running a main color that's going to synergize with that. And obviously, Luna is the best choice we have in blue right now.
Right, and like you said, the fact that we have those really good cards in blue also have helped her. I think that if we didn't have Rutherford and if we didn't have Night Glider, Luna wouldn't be doing nearly as well.
Sure, I'd agree with that.
Rutherford is definitely a major contributor to Blue's strength right now.
Yes. I'm convinced Rutherford is the single strongest blue card in the game, and that is including Luna.
Jerkface, even?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rutherford is very mean.
Just he by himself. Is he 2 or 4 rec?
He's 4 rec.
Okay.
Yes. Anyway, we have 4 more mains to get to, so let's move on to everyone's favorite recurring nightmare, Vinyl.
Yay! The party never stops.
Right round.
She is a party starter.
Vinyl's back.
So
Vinyl never left.
Vinyl never left.
We saw very, very little Vinyl in Store Champs deck lists. We saw some here or there, but only in presence. For regionals, she came back in force. We've seen Vinyl aggro, we've seen Vinyl control, and yes, presence. So what happened? What changed to make people go back to Vinyl?
I think things just stabilized. People got used to the cards. They figured out what you could use, and that she was still useful. I think that's why we didn't see her in stores. It's because people were just trying new things, and then everything settled.
I think you're right. I think it was that, and I think it was because a lot of the people who were using Vinyl for control shifted to Princess Twilight, and when Bulk got banned, people were finding their Princess Twilight decks weren't working quite as well as their Vinyl decks, and they might have gone back to Vinyl.
That's probably good. That's probably a good point.
That's certainly part of it. And I know there were a few players that were trying to use some of the one-turn kill potential of Discord and Fancy Pants and had swapped over to Lyra to enable that a little bit easier, although some still preferred Vinyl over it.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being eroded, of course, that led to a shift as well. I think Tyler's right. I think it was really just a stabilization.
Have we seen any Lyra?
No, we have not.
No Lyra yet.
Yeah, I think someone was planning on building something after our regionals, but they didn't get it together in time for the regionals.
Makes sense. What is it that makes Vinyl so good for some of our newer players who haven't had the terror of dealing with this card at Continentals for the last 2 years? Let's talk about card advantage briefly and why it's good. So in card games, when you play cards, you want more cards, and Vinyl gives you more cards, and yeah.
For free.
Cards.
And flipping her is cards. And yeah.
The thing about Vinyl is she's incredibly easy to flip, and once she does, she's just useful for the remainder of the game, regardless of where she is. Some mains are not like that.
Even other powerful mains are only useful in their situation.
Right.
And what makes those mains powerful is that you can build a deck that makes the most use of that situation, but having more cards is always
useful.
Is always good. That's the card game is a situation where having more cards is good.
Right.
Well, I think that's enough about vinyl. Let's
Yeah, for
move
now,
on to purple vinyl, also known as Princess Twilight Sparkle.
Hey!
All hail your new god.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Yes. Behold,
Okay.
behold. I don't know the rest of the words.
That's really all you need.
Look upon her in despair.
Twilight. I mean, I ran her. I love her. She's an absolutely spectacular main for a variety of different decks, and I think one of the things that's very unique about Twilight compared to well, almost every other main except for Vinyl is her support options are almost unlimited.
Yes.
Running her either as a monocolor or with a secondary color, you can make almost anything work with Twilight.
Yes.
Yeah, because again, action tokens always useful.
And action tokens are usually
them to
more
draw.
useful than cards because they can turn into cards most of the time. There are
Exactly.
times where they can't.
And to be fair, her meticulous, the fact that she has meticulous serves almost the same purpose as Vinyl's extra card draw, because you get to take a look at a card and then decide whether or not that's useful.
Right.
And so you are
Yes.
almost getting a second draw.
Yes. A
every
Princess
turn with
Twilight at a Ancient Research lets you actually filter cards away without sacrificing that AT gain.
And then you're getting the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
Right.
And unlike Vinyl, she has a home limit of 5.
Right.
Also
And-
true.
And this is one of
Yeah,
the
she
things that's
does.
often you don't really think about it, but it's important because there are
It is.
certain types of decks with Twilight where you're going to want a large number of mains at or a large number of friends at home.
I want every deck to have a
Yeah.
large number of mains.
Chaos everywhere.
I mean, think about some of the control decks that revolve around photo finish.
Yes.
I mean, you often don't want to risk those out there at problems, so home is the right place to keep them.
Yeah,
But then,
home is still the safest location
Also-
to be. It just
Also, Octavia Harsh Judge and her
Mhm.
ilk.
paper twilights, lots of things that you don't want to risk at
Right.
problems.
And having that extra point of home limit over other mains gives you the option to keep more things there. Yeah.
So, despite all of these very fancy features, she has 5 fewer top 8 positions than Vinyl. Even if she has tied at 4 in top 2, she's still been played a lot less in top 8.
Yeah.
Why is
I'm
this?
I'm honestly going to blame that on the ban of bulk.
Almost, I have to agree with you. I think it is the ban of bulk.
And I don't necessarily think that was a bad decision. I actually think it was a good decision. It took me a while to get to that point, but I do agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think you mentioned this earlier, you know when you ban a card that has not one but 2 colors, and it's actually a third color that ends up suffering, that card was probably not in a good place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bulk was a bad thing.
Bulk was bad. Was very bad.
In playtesting, several of us said, we think this card might be broken, but we can't figure out how. And
Nation slapped
obviously
2
went
cards
through.
down.
So those of us who were playtesting do apologize for that. And it took people not very much time to find, the reason it was broken was because we weren't looking in the right color.
Yeah, we just didn't have it see quite enough live play
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well,
while
yeah, I
we
mean,
were
you're like,
testing.
who's gonna pay 5 AT for a card? And it's like, well, purple is, in this case, but
Right.
If it's going to have that kind of impact, I will absolutely pay 5 AT.
Yeah, so Critical
Yeah,
Thought
okay.
here says that the bulk ban is what made Princess Twilight lose to Pile of Presents, which is why he personally switched to Pile of Presents.
And I agree, and we'll go into that here in a bit.
Uh,
But we have another
next
main that we want to talk about.
One more, maybe 2. I would like to get to Octavia if we can, but we'll see. But yes, it's a mod 2.0. What's her name again?
Best background, Tony?
the background
right,
pony?
it's
Yeah,
Battlecat. How do people forget
Yeah.
that?
ambassador of, wait, which one is she again? Right. Okay.
Magic.
Bastard magic.
Didn't they ban that? Anyway,
Bastard
yes.
magic.
No. So Applejack. Let's talk
So
about
Applejack.
Applejack. She of the many power counters.
She of the very large, yes.
So
Applejack got a big butt.
Entire stream goes silent.
yeah,
Just contemplating that.
it's like really?
So I'm going to be perfectly honest with you guys. I have never once played mod villain farming or Applejack epic farming. Not once. So I can't really
Really?
talk about her
Really?
from that perspective.
I have to admit, I thought it was going to go a very different direction with Applejack, but it's interesting to note that even though she had a large presence in the top 8, many of the lists were radically different from each other. There were some that had kind of a control aspect going on with a lot of the popping corn and clipped wings. There were some that were just straight up epic farming and nothing else, that almost to the exclusion of running 0 friends, almost. Just ran a bunch of extra flip cards, very much like the Twilight farming deck back in Canterlot. I mean, we saw all different ends. And I say back in Canterlot, and it made top 8 here as well. So I mean,
Yes. And then, of course, there was the orange-white build as well.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And yeah, so now epic farming has been a very popular strategy since mod. So basically since the first Gen Con. And yet we're only seeing 8 decks in top 8 with Applejack. Why?
I think they're scared of purple, in all honesty.
Yeah, I mean,
That's fair.
and pink.
Purple.
Like,
Purple Lantern, yeah.
There are also a couple of troublemakers specifically that are kind of bad for that strategy. And with other decks running their own villain sets that can be hard to get through.
Mm-hmm.
There are also a couple of purple decks that can easily turn your own setup for villain farming around on you.
And there's always the risk that if you're not running enough villains, you can just get swarmed out by blue.
I do think I think there is a triple threat here in the form of purple's forced movement, pink, and Snips and Snails possibly getting rid of the rock slide before you have that guaranteed 4 power, which can really hurt orange decks. And then Epic Win just goes, oh, so there's a troublemaker, go away.
Yep.
well,
And
once,
And it's gone.
You've only made me stronger.
Yes.
once you've set up on AJ, though, you're flip and kill before they even get a chance to.
Right, but
Epic
usually Epic decks have a troublemaker at the other problem, correct?
Yeah.
But once that troublemaker is gone, then you DFO, Applejack is gone, and then it can set Applejack back a lot.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, we've got a little bit of time here. Let's briefly talk about Octavia.
Octavia?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So she barely squeaked in at above 5 with a mere 6. This doesn't surprise me. I feel she is the weakest of the top tier mains right now. Some might not even consider her top tier. I think she's got the potential, but the problem is unlike the other 4 mains here, she is easily the hardest one to flip. Easily.
And her color, she has some color problems. I feel she seems to be like a mid-range or aggro main in a control color.
Yeah.
That is a good point. It's part of the reason you end up seeing a lot more mid-range using Vinyl instead of mid-range using Octavia.
Yeah, it is interesting to note that her off color is typically hard to get a hold of large amounts. Especially most of the builds seem to be pink, and a lot of pink's best cards need high rec, and a lot of those best cards work best on your opponent's turn.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Though the reason pink-white is so popular is because all of the good pink-white cards are one rec, including the one that no longer exists.
I'm putting Party up there still. Party is still a good card.
Almost all of the pink-white cards are playable. The only one that I don't think is playable is Featherweight.
Yeah, he's easily the weakest of the pink-white cards, but the rest of them are all range from playable to wreck deck.
Yes. That's why I think people tend to favor pink for Octavia. Now, some people like Octavia blue because the whole Spitfire thing is just, oh hey, I DFO'd for 380.
That's fair.
But yes, but the problem is if you're going second and the opponent DFOs your starting problem away or drops a troublemaker or something, and you don't get that early flip, she can really hurt. You know,
that's it. You're done.
Not necessarily. The opponent might flip into an easy problem.
Maybe.
But you're relying on luck at that point to save you, which is never a good place to be.
No.
So, I think that gives us a pretty good summary of what we've seen with the most popular mains and their various archetypes in the top 8 so far. Yes. But there's one deck I think we've all seen or played or built or hated or lost to that definitely deserves and shut up and lost to
Ballroom Blitz.
Yes, Ballroom Blitz. My God,
we
how
saw
are we
Ballroom
supposed
Blitz.
to stop
We
this
saw Ballroom Blitz.
No. So of course, we are talking about Pile of Presence combo.
Yes, Pile of Presence combo. It refuses to die.
Heck yeah.
I mean, presents for days. So
presents for years.
Presents for every pony.
We are actually at that point where it is presents for years. That is a good point. So I mean, what happened?
Year and a quarter. When did Crystal Game come out?
I don't know. A long time ago.
Between the two Gen Cons.
So we're at least entering year 2. It's for years now.
Yeah,
well, not until year 2 finishes.
Well, we'll be close there. So, Pile was dominant when it came out, and then it sort of fell out of favor a bit. I don't know if that was due to it necessarily being worse, but I think it's actually just there were other choices at the time, and now Pile is back, and we have some ideas why. Cheese, do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, Pile. I've been running Pile for a while. I qualified at Gen Con with it, and then a few other times with it. I really like the deck, but so it did fall out of favor for a while, and I think that the main reason was bulk biceps. He just really hurt it, and it was really cheap, or really easy basically to get rid of it, and you can use it anytime. There are a lot of cards.
Common.
Yes, very common. There are now a lot of cards that can deal with it. Darkness mentioned one, Bewitching Beavers. I mean, the most common one that I've seen is Rutherford, but it's not consistent enough. They have basically one chance to get it, and then you're leaving them with 4 cards a turn to get it, and it's just not enough. I also did a different build. We used to have it was a mono pink build, which was all about control. But we switched to another version that Matt actually had worked on, which was this blue version that makes everything really cheap, and you're just focusing on that. So you get rid of the control, but one of the problems with the control elements was that with Bluna and Octavia, if you're up against aggro, they are never going to have friends at a problem. Just never. So you don't actually get to use a lot of the control that you have in that deck.
Hmm. Now, like you were talking about, Bulk was actually an interesting card in that it was probably the hardest counter that existed to Pile, and yet it was also potentially a tool to be used by Pile. since he only had one requirement, he could serve as a relatively easy method if you were playing pink-white, or in theory could play pink-white, of removing some of the biggest threats like Deep Darkness.
Yeah.
And so seeing Bulk go, I think, was kind of twofold. It brought Pile back to where people realized, oh, this is something that we can play again. The biggest threat to it is gone. And at the same time, one of the color combinations that people were looking at kind of got pushed off to the side, and it became apparent that if you were running Pile, pink-white was probably no longer the way to do it.
Yeah.
I'll
I think
real quick-
another reason Pile came back was because, as I believe Feathers mentioned on the Reddit, that enough people were playing pink and Pile and so on that a lot of people were just running Deep Darkness. But then people stopped running Vinyl, so people were like, oh, I don't need my Deep Darknesses anymore, so they took them out. And then everyone went, you know what? No one's running Deep Darkness. I'm going to go back to the main that is the most consistent, and that is Vinyl.
I mean, it's cyclical. We see these things it's not just the My Little Pony CCG. It's every CCG out there. As one deck falls out of favor, another deck will rise, and then they will eventually go through this rotation until something new comes in.
So
resource removal is back. Invest high in resource removal.
So
you
we're at the
your
point
resource
where,
out. Naughty.
because Pile had such a large showing, and it won several regionals, did really well. Maybe this week it won't do as well. Maybe this next week everyone will go, wait, everyone's playing Vinyl. Let me
Slip
go
the Deep Darknesses back in.
shove these Deep Darknesses back in.
I mean, it's probably not even shove. It's probably like, here are these two cards that I put in place of Deep Darkness. I'll just take them back out, put the Deep Darknesses back in.
Oh no, you should be running 3 Deep Darknesses. You want that in that opening hand.
Fair.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you want
That is true.
your god hand of Deep Darkness in your own pile. Last
What?
year's Gen Con was, oh my gosh, like every single deck had that.
Yeah.
Boy, I'm trying to remember where I may have seen that before, and it's just slipping my mind just a little. So Pile. So it's here. Obviously, we understand there's a cycle going on, but it had one of its hard counters taken out, and now it's back in a dominant position. Do we expect it to stay?
Whether it stays or not, I think, depends on how aware people are of its presence. The reason it is so strong is because... Sure. The reason it's so strong is because if you are not prepared for it, it will beat you. It doesn't care about your troublemakers. It doesn't care about your DFOs.
Cares
All
about
it wants
nothing.
to do is muck up your hand every turn until it has 15 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Except, see, that's the thing. The mucking up of your hand is a side effect of it winning.
Yes.
So it's worse than just an effect that mucks up your hand and stops you from being able to deal with it. Because when it's doing that, it's already beating you.
Yeah, if Pile did not have this shuffle hand into deck factor with additionally you can't draw any more cards, then it would not be nearly as strong.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The disruption that you get off of that shuffle hand in the deck is it is hard to deal with. It really is.
Now, sometimes you get incredibly lucky, like I did at regionals last year. I was playing Stopping Corn, and my opponent used a Vinyl, and I wound up with 2 Fashion Weeks in hand, and the amount of points I could get that turn equaled 15 exactly. But that's an anomaly.
Right. I mean, we talked about this. The wide majority of the decks that we're seeing right now are not just dropping all of their cards unless they're playing Bluna. And even if you are playing Bluna, it's not necessarily in a great position. You're probably planning your turns out a turn or two in advance based on what you're holding in hand.
Yeah, and
I'm
when
not going
that
I'm not going
he's
to trigger a
unaware.
DFO. Right. I'm not going to trigger a DFO this turn because I've got a hasty friend in my hand. I'll save that for next turn. Oops, my hasty friend is gone. My whole plan is now shot.
Right.
So pile
So,
is at the very least something that people, I think we can say, should be aware of.
yes, if you are aware, being aware of it will increase your chances of beating it. Um, at my
Yep.
regionals, I was thinking to myself, I have a deck that I will beat all of the decks that I know are going to be there, and I don't think any of the Colorado Springs people are going to be playing Pile. I don't think this deck will beat Pile, but that's the only meta deck that I think it loses to. And then two
And then
people brought Pile.
Hold.
Right, exactly.
So I underestimated people's willingness to play Pile. Had I known people were going to play Pile, I would have played something completely different. Would it have won? I don't know.
Right. Well, let's actually talk about that. We all had some difficult decisions to make. What with local championships having been over since early January, and who knew what we were going to see. So we all had to try to make decisions based on what we expected our metas to be. And maybe we can take an opportunity and kind of just go around the table and each briefly talk about the decks we played and the decisions we made and the general strategy.
Okay, sure. Do we want to start with G since he's already started?
Yeah, let's have Cheese lead off here.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So going in, I went down to Fresno actually to join Matt and his group, and really it was just that I felt that I knew Pile the best, and that I hadn't really seen a deck come up that I felt I would be able to perfect my playstyle with. Because I am actually pretty bad at control, and we had some control decks, but like Pile is it's just easy for me to run. So I decided that would be the safest bet for me.
So I'll kind of follow into that. I ended up running essentially the same Pile build as Cheese did, so my experiences are largely similar. I was a little bit surprised because the meta up in my stores has seemingly been a lot of like really ugly, grindy control stuff, but I got into the regionals and surprise, surprise, there was a lot of aggro, which I was not expecting, and unfortunately, that Pile build doesn't quite go fast enough to put up with aggro. But it got me into top 8, so that's all I really wanted.
Hey, got that playmat, got the carbo loader, right?
Got the playmat, got the carbo loader. Need to get an Applejack band because I want every character on that map to have a band card.
Now, all in good time. I'm sure Bugle will break something.
Oh, we're working on it.
Well,
just
Apple
wait.
Vendor.
Well, yes, but I mean low-hanging fruit.
Just you wait.
Bugle, what did you end up running?
So we want to go with my weirdness. I seem to be an anomaly in that I have not seen anyone else running. There might have been someone, but I haven't seen anyone. There were a lot of deck lists, but I was running 3 colors. Not very many people seem to be doing that. People have stopped running 2 colors, but that's because they're running 1 color. But no, I thought the correct answer was to increase. I had a very strange control deck. Final main, orange backup, and with a party of 1 and photo finish, both of which are easily worth splashing in the right deck. And it was a very similar deck to the deck that you might have seen me play at BabsCon last year.
Buy some apples.
And the deck that I thought I was going to lose to back then was Presence. And the deck that I thought I was going to lose to now was Presence. So there you go.
But you beat. Well, actually, did you end up playing Presence last year?
I
Or at
beat
Babs?
Presence last year, yes. Barely. I saw 2 Nightmare Moons and Yellow Parasprites all the way down, and yeah. Uh, no, I didn't see the Nightmare Moons. I only saw the yellow Parasprites. Every time I saw a Nightmare Moon was the turn that they popped a vinyl.
So let's take a brief look at some of your choices here. You've got some control. I've seen you do pink-orange before, but I had not seen it with the splash for white.
Just pulled up my deck list.
Yep, he's got it up there. I'm assuming he's got
Yeah, I
some
got
of
all of
ours
them.
already. Mhm. So some of the removal is relatively straightforward. Yoink is great for shutting down some of the competitive things that blue can
The ones
do.
I actually shoved in last second because I'm like, I'm sure someone's going to be playing orange. I need to get rid of their carbo loaders.
Right. I actually found it more useful against blue, personally. But hey, it covers
Yes,
either.
but I had enough tools with dealing with blue. I was a little more scared about the carbos. My initial playtesting, I had really favorable matches against orange, but then I changed some of the cards, and then I was thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm not running Queen Chrysalis anymore. I'm not running Yoink anymore. Orange might actually be a problem. Let me throw some Yoinks back in here.
That's fair.
But yeah, the big one, the biggest card that people might be looking at and going, huh, is the downright dangerous. And the reason for the downright dangerous is because of F-stop. F-stop is, in my opinion, the most powerful one power friend in the game right now, and I had no other way of dealing with him except my mass removal.
I mean, you could bail out him.
Yeah, but that only stops him for 2 turns.
I mean, that's enough to get a party bomb down, right?
It's enough to get a party bomb out, but sometimes you can't rely on that. And it's nice to be able to have the just, no, you no longer have an F-stop. And Nation's deck was running F-stops, which is why I needed answers for them. And
it was,
worked
I think,
really
in
well
fact
for
a
me.
meta call.
And the Colorado Springs guys were both surprised by the deck, though not surprised that I made such a deck, and also seemed to like the deck, even though it did, in fact, lose to piles.
Hey, that's what matters at the end of the day, is whether or not you can have fun running it and get results that you're looking for.
Yes.
So that's good.
Yeah, I did make my top 4, even if I. Yeah, the only decks I lost to were Pile, the same person playing the same Pile deck, and Mono Blue, Aggro, and I only lost to time. If I had one more turn, I would have won.
Yep.
Losing to time
First
sucks
time
in this
for
game.
green.
That's one of those things that you have to keep in mind, though. It's one of the things that stops
It wasn't-
hard grindy control from
And
being more
before
valuable.
anyone asks, it wasn't me playing slowly. It was actually the blue player trying to deal with all of the stuff that I was throwing his way.
Mhm. Next deck list?
Who's up next?
Round and round.
Well, you haven't talked about your deck
That's
yet.
you, actually.
Oh, okay. Sure. So I was sitting there about 2 weeks before regionals started and said I need to try to play something against what I expect the meta at regionals to be, and I didn't really know. So I looked at what some other people had been playing. I looked at what some of our local players enjoyed running, and decided that I was going to build a deck with enough tools to be able to counter the 2 decks that I expected to run into most commonly, which were Princess Luna aggro and Applejack villain farming. I thought those 2 were going to be most dominant. And to a point, I was right. The deck did end up working. It is bizarre. It's using Princess Twilight as the main, but it's not a hard control deck. It's more along the lines of Princess Twilight, mid-range kind of also epic farming, with a few control options in there. The deck's name is A Series of Unfortunate Events, and it is tricky. The primary idea was to use some of the best events that are available in pink and purple, who I thought were the 2 best colors for countering orange and blue, and then accelerate point scoring through Nightmare Star, Trixie, and mostly using Nightmare Moon for hand disruption. The first thing that I like about the deck is its flip average is obscene. It is 4.7. What is it? I can't see it at the top.
Let's see. 4.76.
Almost 5, yeah.
It's very, very close to 5.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
there was a brief period of time where he had Babs in there because Babs grows, and I'm like, no, I think you want the brown apple Betty because you don't want to ever flip a 2.
Absolutely. And the Tantibus was also a spectacular suggestion. A few people ate their words along the lines of, I'll challenge the troublemaker, what's the worst that can happen?
Oh, crap.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think people underestimate the power of Tantibus. I am glad it has made a top 8 showing, and I am glad that you used it as well as I expected it to be used.
Yeah.
Tantibus is, honestly, I think I know I just recently didn't even. I don't even think I put it on my list, my Cloud Chasers list, but I think I can't remember whether it was on Cloud Chasers list or not. But I think that were I to rank the list now, I would put Tantibus at the number 1 slot.
It's very good.
It
So
is more powerful than she looks.
So some of the cool tricks this deck can pull off, I actually really built the deck to do one thing in particular, and it's hilarious when it happens, and that is to have Princess Twilight at a problem pretty much by herself, and have a Trixie troublemaker, and challenge Trixie with Princess Twilight, and having used your meticulous and top deck manipulation, put a, yep, you see it already, flip a Discord, put Discord directly into play at Trixie's problem, where Discord immediately loses his ability of having -3 power, allowing you to retain the 7 power effective flip, but get your friend into play for free.
Boy.
It is the stupidest thing that you will ever see done, and it is so magical when it happens.
I don't know. I've seen some stupid tricks with Fairy Dreams, but we'll see.
This is the ultimate feel good for you and ultimate feel bad for your opponent. A couple cards in here just to briefly talk about. Yoink obviously is in here as well for the same reason. Carboletter is something good to shut down. I did drop it to 2. Right. I've got Napcakes for Night Glider. Interesting to note, there is a priority window after both problems have been confronted before a face-off starts where Night Glider has not received her competitive boost yet. We looked that up specifically to be sure that could work.
Yes.
Pinky the yeah, it's, hey, gotta know those timings. Study session. Say hello to my favorite resource from Crystal Games. Blue is back in aggro,
so only 2 that are
so study session comes back. I mean, it's strong. I resolved turn 2 study session against Luna and won both games.
That's mean.
And then, I mean, the rest of it is just general control. Nightmare Star is good for point acceleration because it doesn't frighten your friends. Nightmare Moon if you need to disrupt a combo deck or just have some hand disruption over time. Its Elementary provides some good entry choices. Lemon Hearts can be good for drawing into answers on your opponent's turn if you don't have to scope things out. But overall, it's been a lot of fun to play, and Rest in Pieces is a great option up against Pile, but only if you draw all 3 of them, apparently.
Yes, all 3.
2's not enough.
So what did you think that I was going to run?
I thought you were going to run a 1-turn kill.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be a 1-turn kill. And so I was just expecting to, I don't know, roll over and die to it. So I was glad I actually had a little bit of a chance.
Or possibly let him bank that AT and then go, I'll challenge my troublemaker, but you're going to lose. Oh, I know. I'm going to lose all my action.
Watch this.
And so are you.
And then Tyler had to step away here, but we can definitely bring up that deck because it is still worth taking a brief look at. And we'll all criticize his play choices while he's gone and he can't hear it.
Okay, deck's up.
Okay. 1 second, waiting for that to appear on stream.
Yeah, since we can't actually see it.
You guys have the link. If you can find it on Reddit.
I mean, we could.
By the time we found it, it'll be on stream.
Right, exactly.
But it's a mono blue build. It does have some white, but it's aloe, and she's not really white.
That's not white. That's mono blue with, hey, I want the ability to potentially
that's
DFO
like,
against the 7-power problem.
Yeah.
that's like Ballroom Blitz with Cloud Chaser doesn't make it blue.
Yeah.
Or Pile with Cloud Chaser. Only Cloud Chaser.
Yeah. So this is running both Night Glider and Storm of Justice.
More equals better than.
I don't know. I've always felt that that's so much AT. I guess it's a replacement because you're not gonna be able to play both generally.
Not usually, no. It's generally a one or the other unless you end up in a very long, drawn-out match, at which point, if you're up against control or up against some sort of force movement and you're just banking ATs waiting for the Nova turn, it can get you there.
Yeah.
Epic Win, of course, is going to be staple. Spike the new Rainbow Dash, I'm surprised I don't see as many people playing. It's basically competitive before competitive was a thing, and also has a chaos.
Yes, it's a 4. Spike is a 4 in every face-off, regardless of where he is.
Yeah.
Unless he's not in the face-off. But if you flip him, he's a 4. If he's on the board, he's a 4.
And then, of course, other options, Rutherford and On Even Ground to try to slow down one-turn kill combos. Cloud Chaser was
The one of.
if you saw one of them, you didn't feel too bad. Any more than that, and it just felt awful. And then, I mean, it's straightforward. There's not a whole lot to talk about. It's a mono blue build.
So why is there the one heroic leap?
If I remember correctly, the one heroic leap was in there as a stand-in for something else that we just forgot to replace. But it had actually served enough purpose on its own to where we didn't really want to bring it out. The extra 2 power was occasionally useful for either just getting over the cusp of winning the face-off, or getting to the 5 with a Night Glider or a Storm of Justice. And I mean, a 5 flip, it's not bad.
Yeah, most blue decks don't have 5s. Like, you could rely on them flipping a 2, 3, or 4.
4
And
for
so
the
having just a few of those that can be a little surprising can be nice. Do you want to put up the pile list so people can just look at it?
Yeah. I gotta go find it. Oh look, Fresno Regional.
Where are all these decks, except for one, came from?
Yeah. Okay, our pile list is up.
Yes, you people in your Pacific time zones.
Yeah, so this is... more blue. It's got both kinds of Cloud Chasers. Or are there 3 kinds now? I kind of forget.
There are 3 kinds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the ready
They're
one.
all blue.
As
And
they
they're
should
all
be.
useful,
Yeah.
unlike all the flitters.
So now
So
that
sad.
that we
Only
added
2 flitters are
in
useful.
the 2-bits and Wonderbolt's Wrap, Wonderbolt's Wrap is actually a great card. Like,
Mhm.
for this deck. For other decks, like if you're gonna go
It's-
like Pegasus Explosion, maybe if you want to make that a thing
it's
again.
If you are playing blue and pink, it is almost always going to be better than 2-bits.
It can only be used on a friend though. It can't be used on another card.
Yeah,
Which was sometimes a problem
But
when I'm like,
how
I'm gonna
many-
play Dip in the Pool. Oh wait, I don't have a 2-bits. I only have Wonderbolt's Wrap. But I was running 3 of both, so.
I mean, it can be relevant, but it's usually just as good.
You also notice
If not
the
better.
dismissal options in this deck. There are only 4 cards that do dismissal. Downright, Rolling Tones, and Party Bomb.
Yeah.
Rolling Tones is your only option against other DJ players.
Yes, that's why the Colorado Springs guys ran 3,
Yeah.
because of the mirror.
I I
They
think I would have
actually
liked to have
apparently
3.
expected me to be playing Presence.
Have you ever played Presence?
I have.
Huh.
Yes.
Hmm.
And
I
there's
don't
the
particularly
one
care for
Snips
it,
and
though.
Snails, which I actually managed to use turn 2 against Matt.
That was stupid, by the way.
Yeah.
Got the roll so that he was first on the play. Bank 2 AT, turn 2, spin 2, flip DJ, exhaust DJ, draw a card. Hey, look what that one card
Yeah,
was.
it might have actually been one of the 2 I paid to draw, but it was on that
Ah.
turn that I got.
I don't know. Maintain it was the one you drew with DJ, just because it's that much more epic when you're like, yes, heart of the cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other major problem with that particular build that I found is it doesn't have that much pink entry.
No, it does not.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
ended up locked out of pink in multiple
Yes.
games, and that's
Yes,
really annoying when you're
I
running
play
pink
tested
lane.
against this build once, and I party of one, all 3 pennies, and a hooves away, and some other things.
and
the
it
deck was
just
very sad.
died.
The deck became very sad.
But yeah. Anyway,
Well,
let's see.
From there, we got our deck list pretty much covered. So let's move on to some tips and tricks for some players, huh?
All right.
Well,
Let's see. Let's go in color order here and start with Best Princess. Princess Luna Dream Warrior, aka Princess Luna wants to wreck some faces. She's good at it.
She is good at it.
All right, so Luna's problem is that she scoots around a lot, and power starts showing up in really annoying places. Well, unfortunately, she can't confront if there's troublemakers in the way. And most of these decks like running Epic Win, because you know what's even funnier than a Nightmare Moon? Punching Nightmare Moon in the face and getting 3 points.
mm-hmm.
You know what's not funny? Having to waste an Epic Win on an Aramosby, because that's just sad.
Yes, enjoy those 0 points.
Enjoy those 0 points. Luna, of course, loves playing Friends, so things that mess with Friends getting played are, of course, great. Steady Session, nice card. Be a real shame if all of those, cheap friends you're playing didn't give you any power. I mean, they still move Luna, which that is something, but
It is substantially less.
it's substantially less. Not that this has typically been a problem, because yellow doesn't normally make much of a showing in this meta. Calming is actually really, really
Yes.
annoying.
Luna actually doesn't like calming at all.
Nope.
Nope, she
Like-
dislikes it very much. Unless
I
use her draw to one of your 3 Call in the Dream Cavalries or a Rainbow Dash Winged Wonder, and that's pretty much it, right?
You're it's yeah. I've in a couple of playtesting games, calming has really been annoying. The traditional orange counters to people confronting stuff, popping corn, bailouts, etc. Popping corn in particular, because almost everything in a Balloon build is going to be below 3 power.
Mm-hmm.
And
Stuff
they're
At least
mainly-
Right, at least at the time you're going to be using it.
Spitfire or Chrysalis, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, it's typical aggro counters that you end up seeing.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, the low point mid to high power troublemakers are also just a great stall.
Yeah, Double Diamond can really annoy Luna, because it's like, oh, well, I need to draw for my answers to the troublemakers. Oh, I can't do that. Well, I'll beat it up. Oh, it's to 6 power. Well, I'll Epic Win it. Oh, it's 0 points. Ugh.
All your options are bad.
Hey,
Yeah,
it's
all of the options become bad.
So, vinyl.
Oh, well, no, we're doing color order.
Okay, sorry.
So that means Applejack.
Okay, Applejack.
So Simpson Snails is a fantastic answer.
Sure, in the same way that Mod hated seeing Rock Slide go away back during Continentals last year, AJ doesn't like seeing it go away anymore.
AJ hates it worse
Yeah, worse.
because AJ won't intrinsically hit that fourth power.
Yep.
Mod will always get that fourth power. AJ needs to actually win a face-off. If you get the Rock Slide out of the way, then suddenly, I have to actually win that face-off fairly?
And she's not even, like, it's going to be much
That's
harder
not
to flip.
fun.
And
Yeah.
usually you're still at a disadvantage. 3 versus 5 with 1 flip, even with the high flip averages Orange normally has, isn't always going to work. And a lot of orange builds are really greedy, and they're running their carbo loaders and their iron wills and their things that have 4 wreck. And if you can't hit that 4th wreck, you're going to get wrecked.
Yeah, it's true.
So Sips and Snails is a good counter to AJ for that reason. Similarly, I Just Can't Decide is a good counter, because you just drop that where their troublemaker is going to be, and you just put her home every single turn.
Forced movement will do it.
Yep. Forced movement. Orange
You're
hates
spending
it.
1, they're spending 2, and they're not accomplishing anything.
Yeah. Honestly, sometimes even if you're at 3 action tokens a turn, if you're running Princess Twilight and you can Ursa Vanquisher, you can make up the action token difference through the Studious and at least remain neutral that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as long as you're getting ahead in that matchup, that may be it right there.
Your own carbo loaders can help against her as well, even if she does get big. If you have carbo loader and she doesn't, she's still not going to win. Cardboard box, she does not like being shoved in boxes.
No.
Now they
she
do have
really hates
epiphanies
being in
blow up the boxes, but if they don't have an epiphany, they aren't going to be fighting very much.
And you don't have the same method of getting to your resource removal that Maud did. Since Maud typically needed resources, she generally would run Epiphany but could also run Seabreeze's Flower. And you could potentially tutor in Seabreeze's Flower with, pseudo-tutor with Applejack Farm 4 Mare. You can't do that. You can't do that with HA Mono Orange. And there's, of course, a number of face-off tricks that can just make things very disgusting. Cold Wave immediately comes to mind, unless she's at Applejack's Worst Nightmare. That's going to shut her down.
Yep.
Anything that's going to allow you to flip extra cards, like you said, Carbo Loader, that's a good one. If you end up in the mirror matchup, do what you can, I guess. Double Trouble.
Yep. Yeah, force
All right.
movement, of course, just being the big thing here.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see, so color order. Vinyl. Yay.
All right, there we go. Deep Darkness, Pile of Presence.
Yep.
And Double Diamond.
It's worth noting,
a
however,
bit.
that Double Diamond does not stop Pile. It does, however, if you can play it fast enough, slow Vinyl's flip down.
Yes. Yes, because at the time that DJ cracks and players are shuffling their hands back into their decks, they do not have any cards in hand and therefore are not prevented from drawing.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, it's the same things that we've seen with Vinyl before. When Vinyl is popular in the meta, people are going to run Deep Darkness because it'll go in any deck, literally any deck, colorless. And then
Well, you
they'll
won't put it in your Vinyl decks.
You don't know me. I'm crazy, man. I do weird stuff. I played Twilight mid-range. You don't know what I'm capable of. And Pile of Presence as well. It's funny. The mirror match is one of the most disgusting, terrible, grindy, atrocious things you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah.
And you can watch it now on our YouTube channel.
Sweet. Let's see, what's next here?
Well, so important for
Twilight.
Well, so
Oh,
important
no.
specifically against Pile is resource dismissal.
Right.
Is if
Yes,
you don't have
but-
enough of it, then especially instant speed.
Yeah, but
so
we're talking about the
just
main specifically at the moment.
yeah, so we'll maybe cover that later.
Right. A lot of
next-
these tips can be applied to different archetypes. So, for example, if you see aggro in DJ, well, maybe you want to consider study session or popping corn. So, different things like that.
Let's see. Twilight Ambassador of Friendship. Oh, Princess Twilight Sparkle.
Thank you. Hey, Applejack 2.0, Snips and Snails wants to say hello.
Pretty much. Yeah, so this is going to be a recurring theme here. Snips and Snails and Forced Movement. Applejack.
And the DFO. Yeah.
Yes, and the DFO
that's-
turn too.
That's true. Luna is a good counter to Twilight, just because it's like, hey, that's a nice 5 wild problem you've got there.
Well,
It'd be a shame
more
if I had a
specifically,
hasty friend.
Luna is a good counter to Twilight if Luna goes first.
And
True.
Twilight is a good counter to Luna if Twilight goes first.
Correct. So if you want to bank the entire success of your regional experience on die rolls, that's what you do.
Consider these two mains. As with before, IJCD to keep her away from ancient research. Snips and Snails to make it go away. Just make ancient research go away, and their life suddenly gets much harder.
Yeah, it's the thing that allowed Princess Twilight to be even remotely playable, is getting her flipped that early.
Well, we do have Aloysius, we do have Zecora into Paper Twilight, or that one Luna.
But
So there are
still-
other ways, but they
there
aren't as consistent as Pay 2 move.
Right,
Yes.
exactly.
Let's see. Anything else with Twilight?
Twilight's a little tricky in that she's mostly used as supporting whatever the other cards in the deck are going to do, rather than having the entire deck based around what she's capable of. So
Yeah.
you really need to use good judgment on what you expect to see as a secondary color, if there will be a secondary color for Twilight decks in your local meta, and pick options that are going to work against some of those standout cards as well.
Mm-hmm.
Twilight is very versatile. She's very much kind of a toolbox.
A good leader knows how to delegate.
Yes.
Well, and then we'll move on to the last main of Octavia. The big thing for her that isn't true for the other four is troublemakers. If you go first and you play a troublemaker at her problem, she's going to have a sad time.
Yep.
And then Snips and Snails and the DFO plan and the force movement and all of that can work as well. The force movement less so. But then also just Octavia is going to be relying on a lot of small friends. So things that get rid of small friends, like party bombs or plunder seeds, are also going to hurt her. And then again, she also likes banking AT because all of her power comes from her hand. So if you can hit her in the AT, say with On Even Ground or even Philomena, then she's not going to be very happy.
Mm.
Let's see, what was the other?
Those 5.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
If we could offer one last tip as people are considering what to add in their decks, if there's one thing we have to say, yes, the meta is cyclical. It's going to go through these different cycles of mains rotating in and rotating out, and archetypes rotating in and rotating out, and all of that. There is still one thing that has not changed since Crystal Games came out. Bring resource removal. You need resource removal in your deck, no matter what deck you are playing.
don't cut it down to 2.
3
Try
of
and
them.
have it at 3 or even 4 if you can afford it.
4. Or, hey, you're yellow, so, or for that matter, you're orange. You're running Epiphanies anyway, right? Right?
Right.
So
That's what I thought.
we've got a little bit of time left. Do we want to go over a few other decks real quickly that are worth bringing up? Anything that you guys saw either on the Reddit or at your locals, or just anything creative?
We could definitely do that. We could also open up some questions from chat here in a few minutes. So, chat, if you have any questions and you want to start thinking about those, now would be a good time.
Sure.
But yeah, you seem like you might have something in mind you want to talk about, so go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to talk about Nation's deck. I think Nation's deck was pretty fantastic.
Okay.
Okay, I'll bring that up.
To the point
Where are you
where
from again?
I specifically tacked against it, and then I never played him. So the major thing about Nation's deck is he's got a lot of one-ofs for his events, which you'll just find with meticulous and ancient research. But then once he's used them, he has f-stops to use them again and again and again and again. And this is especially annoying with nap cakes. I can't tell you how many times his nap cakes have put people in a bad spot when he can just play it turn after turn after turn. He'll go, oh, that's a nice entry you have there. Let me put that on top of your deck. And then you go, okay, I'll pay 1 to draw it, and then I'll play it, and then I won't do anything because that was all my action tokens for the turn.
It's a sad place to be.
He also has not very many troublemakers, you might notice, only 8. But despite only having 8, that's all he needs.
That is an unusually low number of
Yeah.
troublemakers in a deck that's running troublemakers. You usually see 9 as a minimum.
You usually see 9, but he wanted as many toolboxy cards as he could, or things as he could get in there, and it runs incredibly consistently. The biggest problem he's encountered is not always being able to flip Twilight, which he has solved by running the 3 Kevins and the 2 Zakoras. And banishing a Zakora to play a Paper Twilight to home is an incredibly strong turn 1 play.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Then you can follow that up with a Troublemaker.
Yeah, I kind of actually agree. I mean, I understand the flip average is a little bit low and you do have to actually play the card, but I'd like to see maybe a gyro or 2 fitting in here somewhere, just to tutor up whatever you need.
Originally he had gyros and he took them out. He felt he didn't need them because of the Meticulous.
I guess that depends on...
That being said, he did not see any of his resource dismissal against Pile, and maybe a gyro would have helped there.
Yeah.
I'll have to see. Yeah. I will say that Nation is probably one of the better pilots in this game, and it's if anyone can make something that's a little suboptimal and is missing a key card like that work, it's going to be him.
Yeah, I still don't know how to play his original Gen Con deck. Like,
oh god,
I tried it.
I know that is the weirdest deck. It's so hard to drive. Yeah, he is an incredible pilot.
Did we want to look at any decks that weren't one of the big 5? Did anything strike out to anyone?
Yeah, Ara, you had one you wanted to look at?
Yeah, so this is
okay, it's up.
This is just a little I don't really know how to say this, but this is one of our local players. He ran the same purple-yellow deck for a very long time until sometime in, I think it was High Magic. Ripped his deck up and switched to this little monstrosity. This is a Changeling Pretender yellow-pink or yellow-white deck. This is block legal, and this thing can punch hard enough to take Tier 1 Harmony decks out. It doesn't always do that, but this thing is annoying to play against.
Was this the person who won Everfree last year?
No, it is not.
This was Sokol.
Oh, Sokol.
Yes. So this deck just amuses me. It's really good for what it is. And it's got some synergy, and you look at this and you go, yellow sucks, and no, I'm sorry, this hurts. There are some suboptimal card choices here, but his card pool given his card pool, this is still really strong.
I'm surprised he's not running. Well, I guess he's not really going tokens, so I guess the Kratos or whatever it is strategy wouldn't really be appropriate here. It's kind of more on the control side.
Yeah, this is definitely a control deck. The one thing that this deck doesn't deal with real well is if you can deliberately not flip your main.
Mm-hmm.
You will notice that he does not have great white entry, and if you can lock him out of that by virtue of not allowing them to flip Pretender, it gives him a much harder time.
Now, is he running? I can't actually see the problem list from here. Is he running under Lock and Tree?
Yes, 2 of.
Yes.
Okay, so he does have the option then with backup vocals as well.
Yes. He's had a couple of what I thought were hilarious matches against a Rarity Ambassador of Generosity where he force flipped his Pretender while Rarity was still on her start side. That went bad for his opponent.
That's not great. That's not great.
That's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points.
Did we see any, or do you guys remember any really new archetype decks from any of the regionals?
How about that
What do you mean?
Applejack deck that's kind of big bombs?
Oh yeah.
Which one is that?
Let's see if we can go find that.
Well, are we talking big bombs or are we talking the event farming?
It's the one that had all of the double flip cards, yes.
Yeah, that one.
Okay,
Yeah, that would be
I
big
have that.
bombs.
Yeah, for those that aren't aware of history, Big Bombs was a Premier era deck where you ran Premier Twilight and all of the flip another card if you control Twilight in the face-off events, and then the flip average of the deck was north of 4, so you would generally win that face-off against one of your own villains.
Yes, with one starting power.
Yeah. Originally, I believe it was a counter to the aggro deck of the day known as Rainbow Dash Wins.
Rainbow Dash Wins.
RDW.
Yeah.
Yep.
This was actually before my day. I got in right about a year after it launched.
Not a year, because you came in before Gen Con, and it hadn't been out a year at that point.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Really? Oh,
Yes.
I guess you're right. Dude, I don't even remember now. I don't know. It was. I think CN pre-release was my first event.
Yeah.
This one?
No, there was another one.
Where? I can't find it now.
This is sort of close.
This has
I'm
the double
trying-
flips.
It does have the double flips. Imagine this, but with less cards that aren't double flips. And
Yeah.
less friends. I know there's only 6 friends. Imagine it with less friends.
Yeah.
Didn't
It
we
ran-
see a
what
deck
was it,
that had
3
0
copies?
friends?
3 copies of Lasso Jack, yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
3
yeah, that
copies of
And that
Lasso
was
Champion.
it for friends.
Hey, if it works, it works. And you don't need
Yeah, it
Rock
was-
Slide.
No, you don't need Rock Slide. I have to admit, the build may have some problems, but it was really kind of funny just looking at that and going, I kind of want to build that. Just because
Right?
it's fun to play.
It was Twilight Time. That's the one we were thinking of
Yeah.
as well.
Well,
Yeah.
someone at my regionals and Critical Thought suggested I bring it up. I think we can just talk about it briefly. There was someone ran Twilight Sparkle Faithful Student, yes, a premier main. Epic farming at our regionals, got top 8. And it's very similar to this orange deck, only it's purple.
Yep,
I mean,
friends forever, team effort, straighten up, play right, and double trouble.
flip some cards.
With a 4.82 flip average.
Yes.
Oh man, someone's outshining me.
Yep, lowest flip is a 3.
Yep, that was the same. He's just got a higher top end. Wow. Well, we've talked a bit about what we've seen as far as the meta in our areas and things that we feel could be good advice for you, but I'd actually be curious if the chat has any cool stories from their regionals or questions or tips they'd like to ask from us.
There was one question I saw, which was Bubbly Mare plus Fluttertown, whether we thought that was viable. If you get it, it sometimes works. Applejack doesn't particularly care too much. Twilight doesn't particularly care too much. Because they've got cards of all of those types, and they're like, okay, I was probably only going to play one of all of those anyway.
Pile hates it.
Pile does hate it. Pretty much every combo deck hates it.
Right.
Yeah.
And Octavia is not very happy with it either. Luna is sometimes only going to play one friend anyway, so they don't particularly care. And with Hasty, they can just go, okay, I'll play this on your turn, and then I'll play my friend, another friend on my turn. So it can interfere with some of the decks if you can get it. The problem is you can't consistently get it, and by the time you have gotten it, you've invested a lot of action tokens.
Right.
Probably at least 6.
So I'd agree with you there.
Yeah.
Cool trick, probably not something you should be building for in this meta.
Yeah. When it works, it's fantastic. It just doesn't work consistently enough for me to think that it's a viable strategy. Then we do have some questions from the Reddit, 3 specifically, all from the same person. The first question was, top 8 main count was a very interesting result. What are your thoughts on DJ Pawn 3 still being a dominant pink main? And will there be a suitable, viable replacement once we start block? I.e., will Lyra become the new DJ, or are we stuck with Queen Chrysalis being the best main that pink has? So that's kind of 2 questions. We'll start with the first part. What are our thoughts on Vinyl being a dominant pink main? I think we covered that.
Yep, I think we went pretty into depth with that.
Yeah.
Vinyl continues to wreck face. And will continue to wreck face as long as she is allowed.
Yeah, so the second half of that question is block. Lyra or Queen Chrysalis, basically. Or do we think pink will even be good in block?
Well, what does pink
I
have
don't know,
in
it's got some
block?
tools.
It does, but I think a lot of its tools are actually multicolor.
Right.
And so I'm not sure that pink has enough that's in block right now for it to be dominant as a main color, because a lot of the cards that are very high in requirement that would be played if you were playing a pink main are more useful in a harmony setting like Dip in the Pool.
Dip in the Pool or PFF, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, those are not particularly interesting without some harmony cards.
I think pink will become a secondary color in block, yes. Some people might run Queen Chrysalis, and pro tip, pink does have Torch Song, who finds your singing barrels, which can help you get into your second color very easily if you do run pink as a main. So maybe I think I would I think I would expect to see more Queen Chrysalis than Lyra in block, though, for pink mains.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
So second question, and I think we've covered this fairly heavily. With the wide variety of decks that have been shown as a result of the first wave of regionals, can we truly say that there is a meta at this point? If so, what would it be? I would say we have a meta for mains, even if how those mains are utilized isn't necessarily going to be the same from region to region. I think you will consistently see the same 5 mains, and some other mains try and not do as well.
Yep. There are some mains that are going to have only a singular deck strategy, like, for example, Princess Luna. You're never going to see Princess Luna control. I will eat my words if we ever see Princess Luna control. Bugle, do not build this deck just to spite me.
You hear me cracking my knuckles, but I'm cracking them.
Do not build this deck just to spite me. Don't do it.
Cracking them.
I mean, you do have several of very, very strong deck builders in stream with you right now.
I know.
No, wait, hold on. Is this reverse psychology?
I'm just banking. No, of course not. Why would you think such a thing? But in addition to there being some mains that are going to be, I will say, then dominantly of one particular archetype, there are other mains that are going to be far more versatile. I have seen Twilight Sparkle aggro. It's a little weird, but I've seen it.
Final aggro still a thing.
PTS aggro?
Yeah, I've seen PTS aggro. It's strange, but I've seen it.
Applejack will pretty much always be punching epics. Luna will pretty much always be breezing the problems.
Yeah.
And Octavia will be doing some form of breezing the problems and maybe controlling the game a little bit. But Twilight and Final will be the wild cards. You won't be able, when they start with that main, you won't know what archetype they're going to be.
Yeah.
You might be able to guess from their problem, but you might not. Probably not from Twilight's problem.
No, because there's only one thing you're ever going to see there.
You might actually see the equalist propaganda if they are afraid of you playing combo.
Maybe.
That's true. There's a few ideas we've been tossing around with that.
So the last question from the Reddit, it appears that most of the regionals were sorely lacking in people, mostly under 15 people. This is a good indicator for the state of the game, i.e. the game is starting to die.
That's not really that unusual from what we've seen with other regionals so far, and I'm actually far more willing to base the health of the game on the interest that is showed by the players who are here, which has been higher than ever before. Look at the Reddit page that we have now, and you'll see the entire front page of that is almost entirely post-made within the last week or so talking about regionals.
Yeah, last year for regionals there were many fewer posts. I do know that some groups...
Yeah, real quick, Dark Jester does say that he ran Princess Twilight's aggro into top 2, so yes, that has happened.
Yeah. It does not make it less strange, but hey, if it works.
Yes.
Congratulations on breaking the meta.
His deck is kind of interesting as well. He uses Trixie the Great and Powerful Show Off to great effect.
Yeah, I did see that. It was kind of clever. No, I do not think the game is dying. I also think that, especially with regionals being divided over 2 weeks, to base everything off of half the numbers that we've seen so far, especially when they are just specific weekends, isn't really fair. For example, I know our regionals was, well, we could say probably anywhere from 5 to 7 people smaller than it would have normally been, just due to unfortunate obligations that came up on that particular day. And I'm sure we're not the only group that had issues where there was something weird that weekend. But if we're seeing all this activity following regionals, then that tells me a couple things. Number one, it tells me there is still active interest in this game. Number two, it tells me that players are beginning to find where other players are gathering and talking about it, and that means they're seeking out more play, which is good, rather than simply wasting away. And I think those are indicators that while the game may not necessarily be large, or while there may have been turnover, I would not say that it is dying. That's my opinion.
I think we're at the healthiest place we've been for a while. We might not be at our peak, but I'd say that was probably closer to the Camelot Knights era. But we have a lot of different decks. Now, people in chat are talking about this deck beats this deck, and then people are responding and going, yes, but this deck beats that deck, and then we've got this whole cyclical thing going here, and that's a better place to be in than the Ballroom Blitz era, which was play Ballroom Blitz or lose.
Or,
Yes,
or you're one of the crazy people who can actually pilot a one-pace build, and or potentially as recent as Gen Con, where it's, are you running Orange Villain Farm, pile, or some form of an infinite? No? Okay, then.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
also true.
so actually, I do want to talk about Dark Jester's deck, because I had actually missed this the first time that I looked at it, was that this was an aggro deck. I actually did not realize that. So this actually is a meta, or not a meta, like a archetype we haven't seen, is specifically her, really, in any of the regionals. At all this year, I think.
Yes. It was purple-yellow,
Yeah.
even. Which
runs orange.
Yes.
So,
It's a purple-yellow deck with orange.
yeah, so the hard part
orange.
about...
Orange.
Yeah, actual orange. Wait. And I've never seen someone play that card, actually.
Just
But
remember,
it's 'cause the
while
colors it's
orange
in.
may be orange, it is not orange. The fun with capitalization that you can't see in actual spoken word.
Well, this is because you're not deaf and can't speak in small caps.
True. So go ahead, Cheese. You want to talk about what you're seeing here?
Yeah, it's interesting. Looking at the entry, I think it's 2 or 6 entry cards. Oh no, sorry, 9. Sorry, 8. He has Royal Guidance. I don't know. I know I've tried purple aggro before, but I've always just felt that it was so much slower. This does have a bit of control.
Yes, it looks like the goal here is to DFO regularly and stop the opponent from confronting with its portals and nap cases.
Oh, yeah,
and draining their AT with orange.
And the Trixie trick with
Portal.
With Portal.
Yeah, the Trixie and Portal is a hilariously powerful combination.
Mm-hmm.
This deck is perfectly capable of going a pair of 10 power problems. Okay. And it'll get both of them off of all of 4 AT.
Although I don't really see... Shutting down presence with this would require Mare.
It has some Mare, and it's not running Bewitched Beavers.
Yeah.
It is running SSR, though. So...
Yeah, you have to get Mare, and then you have plenty of cards. Well, 9. Yeah, you have 9 cards you can play in that priority window.
Yep.
Yeah. So no, it's got defenses against it.
I don't think that it outright kills it though.
No.
Well, no. Mare is, while does have the correct timing, is one of the least effective answers to pile, because pile will frequently just get rid of Mare and then play the pile. Now, obviously,
Yeah, like I'm not gonna play
they have to
pile.
spend the resources on that, and that's good. You're stalling them out, but if they get rid of the Mare, they're not worried about the pile.
It is also running a couple copies of Utterly Drained, which that stings.
So, okay, I think unless anyone else has a question to bring up, I think we're about done here. Unless anyone can think of another deck to bring up really briefly, because we're running a little over the time limit that we had allotted for ourselves.
Yeah, we are trying to do better at keeping the streams under 3 hours.
Yes.
Yeah. When we were setting up, my proposal for the splash art was that picture of Luna sitting there going, "Don't go to bed."
So,
I don't see.
I don't. But last thoughts on the meta. Each person, real quick, maybe 30 to 60 seconds. We'll start with you, Matt.
Okay. I like the diversity. It's good to see more mains than we've seen before, and not just a single deck type limited to those mains. I enjoy seeing control decks having a place in the meta, even if they're a little different than how I prefer to see them run. And I guess if I had one complaint about this meta right now, at least from what we've seen, I would like to see there be a yellow main printed that would be at the competitive level that the other colors have access to.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I am happier with the game state of the current meta than I would say I've been at any point in the past.
Okay, let's move to Cheese.
What was the question?
What do you think about the meta right now?
I think that it's not fully developed yet. Like, I don't know. Personally, I have not played as much during High Magic as I have previously. Just have been gone a lot. And looking at regionals, we're still getting lots of new things coming through. And those things not fully developed. Like, but where we currently are, I think it is pretty interesting. Some people are upset about Pile, which I can get.
It is getting a little stale.
It's been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But there are answers to it, and it is not, and it's not even like, oh, there's technically answers. It's like, no, you can actually build real competitive decks that answer it. And I kind of feel that it has a place in the meta. It does force you to, like, some of the hard control decks can't, they have to still dedicate some slots to it. But yeah.
Ara?
Okay, Ara?
I think my thoughts basically, I'm focusing more on the cyclical nature of this because we're kind of developing a little bit of, it's not exactly rock, paper, scissors, but it's getting to that point. And I think part of doing well in this, I'm going to hate myself for this, but meta is making a correct call about what kind of deck you should be running. As I said, I made a bad call about what I thought I was going to run into. Had I been running probably the deck that Bugle did, I think I would have done much better, honestly. And I think that's going to be kind of common going forward. Is it's going to be a guessing game of did you make the correct meta call.
And as for me, I actually like where the meta is going. you can't intrinsically predict what any one deck is going to be doing. And I like the fact that you can have Baluna sit down from the other side of Princess Twilight, and you might think, oh, one of these mains has an advantage, but it's not such an insurpassable advantage that you know who's going to win right away. Like back in the day, when you had friend animals sit across from Rainbow Dash, the friend animals deck almost always won. The Rainbow Dash, the Pegasus Explosion deck was still very good, but still almost always lost to Ballroom Blitz. And we don't quite have that anymore. All 5 of these top tier mains can sit across from each other and go, no, you might have the favorable matchup, but I have enough cards in my deck that I still might pull out the win.
They are all capable of trading blows.
Yes, they're all capable of trading blows. And there are a few other mains that can, depending on the right situation, can do the same. Lyra, Changeling Infiltrator, and of course, Apple Vendor. Apple Vendor is still very scary.
Buy some apples.
And I'm going to echo Matt's sentiments that I am very sad that yellow is not getting as much recognition as the other 5 colors right now. I am glad that it's at least been in the top 8. To be perfectly pessimistically honest, I didn't think we were going to see any yellow at all. My regionals specifically had 0 yellow cards. On the other hand, I was also the only person playing orange in any capacity, which is weird, but there you go. So, yes, I do like where the meta is going. I'm not very pleased with Pile, but I do think that the especially crafty will be able to solve the Pile problem if it is a problem. And who knows? Set 7 is around the corner. There might be an updated banned and revised list before Gen Con. There's a lot we can still see.
Yep.
And we've got a whole other weekend of regionals.
Yep.
And I'm sure we'll be back after that, too.
Yeah, so which of us... So I believe everybody except for Bugle here has regionals this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I believe we're going to try and stream your regionals, Chiefs?
Yes, we'll find out on Thursday if I can stream those, and if we do, we may have commentary. So.
Yes. We have plans for it. We don't know if it's going to fall through or not.
Wait. Commentary as Magic will have commentary again?
Maybe. It's been like a year.
What?
Anyway, I think that's it for the day for us.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed going to bed at a reasonable hour, unless you're on the East Coast, I guess.
It's still reasonable. It's not even midnight yet.
What?
5 minutes till midnight.
That's true.
Anyway, so I think this is Commentary is Magic. We're signing off. This is Emperor Bugle.
This is Grandpa's.
Big Cheese.
And
some other people who aren't going to talk, I guess.
What? I'm talking. Well, fine. I play to stay quiet the longest. I'm staying quiet. I'm a world champ, you know.
There you go. Oh, nice with the squee too. Very nice. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. As always, if you have any suggestions, questions, comments, criticism, anything at all, please feel free to send that to us at commentaryismagicteam@gmail.com. I will add that to the chat here. And you can also check out our highlights from the Fresno Regionals, highlights being all the games, on our YouTube channel, which is now active. Just search for Commentary is Magic and you will see those games there. We'll get some banner art up here, hopefully in the next few weeks.
Yes, and to all of you who are watching us from YouTube right now, congratulations, you're watching us on YouTube.
Yay! All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Hope this was a blast. We're hoping to do this a little more regularly in the future. And